On June 2nd, 2025, this video threw the Lamely on override. Mariah Carey was teasing her first studio album in 7 years. The era of me had officially begun. Welcome to the Unsleever. In this video, I want to try out something different and discuss eras that have just ended or are still running. If you've seen my other work, you will know I usually analyze eras from albums released in the 90s and 2000s. But today I want to focus on the Here For It All era, which started less than a year ago and that may or may not be over 6 months after release. I will walk you through the timeline up to the latest promotional performance at the Winter Olympics, and I will also share some reflections on the last few years of Mariah's career and what this album means at this point. And as always, I will show you all the different physical editions for the album and share my personal favorites. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button for more videos like this one. To find the origins of Here For It All, we have to go all the way back to a project that Mariah seemed very enthusiastic about for a while, but that she suddenly stopped mentioning, the Butterfly Lounge. The project has never been fully defined, but the closest we can think of is that it's a conceptual space that welcomes creation and collaboration between Mariah and other musicians, without the pressures of music industry executives, deadlines, and all of that. I would say it's a sort of mobile studio, and the potential inspiration for it came in February 2021 with the release of the Valentine's mix of We Belong Together. Mariah seemed very excited and inspired after this and went on to set up a studio in her LA home. This studio was later extended to her home in Atlanta at the end of 2021. During a very chaotic yet wholesome 2021 Twitter Spaces, she dropped a lot of hints about some of the songs that I think ended up being on Here For It All.
I mention it because it really is a favorite, and it kind of combines like a lot of different eras of styles, and I don't want to go too far into it, but like melodically you could feel like a classic, what people would assume is my like, you know, classic melody type thing. I don't want to go into it too far, but like then it has a whole like evolution and ends up somewhere else. That's why I've been doing these tangents. There's still songs, but like we get to have fun like muso tangents, and it's my favorite thing. The lounge, the whole thing that we're doing this, we're making it happen. And by the way, there's a whole other thing that's happening with a group that I'm not going to say who they are, but I give away too many hints. Just be happy for me. That's all I can say.
I think the 9-minute track is the title track, which appears on the album in a shortened version to just under 7 minutes. The other track she mentions about a collaboration that has her very excited could be Jesus I Do, featuring the Clark sisters. It is safe to assume that these two tracks were the first written for the album, although it's not clear that the final versions that appear on the album were finished all the way back in 2021. But before the tracks on Here For It All, we saw other glimpses of the Butterfly Lounge in the great Fall in Love at Christmas, featuring Khalid and Kirk Franklin in December 2021. Then, in the spring of 2022, we caught Masterclass, which I highly recommend to anyone who wants to dive deeper into her writing and recording process. I think it's one of the best things she's done. Of course, a long-awaited collaboration with Brandy came in the form of a new version of The Roof at the end of the Masterclass. However, we would have to wait until September 2022 for it to be officially released as part of Butterfly 25. The next time we got of the Butterfly Lounge was in 2024 with Amazon's Words and Music podcast, where she discussed in detail the creation of her song Portrait and its dance remix, which was released for the occasion. During the promotion of Fall in Love at Christmas, Mariah sounded very excited and discussed openly the positive impact that stopping touring had had on her voice. She also confirmed having many hours of video material that she and her team were working on finding the right streaming platform for. The project would take the form of a documentary showcasing her process of creating music. Sadly, those plans haven't come to fruition at the time of this video, and she stopped talking about the Butterfly Lounge altogether in interviews, with only the Audible podcast in 2024 mentioning it. But the Butterfly Lounge was far from over. During her annual Christmas takeover, she started teasing a new album no longer attached to the Butterfly Lounge. She went as far as saying she had 10 songs ready in an interview in November of 2023.
I've been working on some new music.
Okay.
I have about 10 songs. It's been fun.
Then, to the dismay and confusion of most fans, she announced a new Vegas residency, the Celebration of Mimi, to begin in April 2024, celebrating the 20th anniversary of the emancipation of Mimi a year earlier. This year was also marked by the loss of her mother and sister on the same day in August. By the time Christmas came around, it was clear that no new album would be released, and she became elusive again when asked about it in interviews. In May 2025, a 20th anniversary edition of Mimi was released, and a few days later, the first teaser for MC16 came out.
To show my appreciation for your support. Thank you, DJs.
Mariah's comeback was finally here, with lead single Type Dangerous being released just a few days later. Initially, the song was released with a lyric video marking Mariah's first non-seasonal Billboard Hot 100 entry, with a new track since I Don't in 2017. Alongside the single, a collaboration with Gamma was announced. Gamma is a startup founded by Larry Jackson, who has over 30 years of experience in the music industry, was one of the founders of Beats Music with Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, and is also credited with helping rebrand Apple Music in 2014 as their head of content. The company is very clear in defining itself as not a label. Gamma is a vertically integrated platform covering production, distribution, branding, content, podcasts, and media. All contracts are transparent, royalty flows are tracked, and rights are protected. Artists at Gamma retain the right to their music, track their earnings in real time, and engage with an executive team that brings both financial and creative muscle. The release expressed excitement about collaborating with Mariah on a multi-record deal. L.A. Reid was also announced as the executive producer for the album. There was something in this press release that felt a bit weird, as it placed a strong focus on getting Mariah her 20th and 21st number ones on the Billboard Hot 100. This would make her the artist with the most number ones in history. She's currently number 2 behind the Beatles. To me, this sign of confidence was positive, and it gave the impression that they had a strong rollout planned, but I had my doubts, as going number 1 as a so-called legacy artist is not an easy feat. I also think that if anyone can get a number 1 at this stage of her career, that's Mariah. But we would later find out this would not be the case, at least for any of the singles released from this album. And even though there was still no mention of when the album would come, these early days were all about hyping up Mariah's comeback. The video for Type Dangerous was scheduled for release the following Friday, June 13th. When Joseph Kahn tweeted about an earth-shattering surprise, everyone lost it. People started speculating that it was Britney, Janet, Christina Aguilera, even J-Lo. This was obviously going to backfire. The video was released one day later due to post-production delays, and it showed Mariah in different scenarios in a narrative loosely based on the type of men described in the song's lyrics. It was a high-budget, completely overproduced affair, in my opinion, and it included the earth-shattering surprise at the very end, and that would be Mr. Beast of YouTube fame. This immediately drew some backlash from longtime fans, as his target demographic has very little to do with Mariah's. I personally didn't care for it, but to me it showed that they were willing to try different things out to expose Mariah to new audiences. Then Mr. Beast barely acknowledged the video, and it didn't really translate into big streaming numbers. Mariah did a big performance of the song at the BET Awards on June 9th, where she also received the Ultimate Icon Award. This was the first major performance of the era, and the reception was a bit lukewarm. A lot has been said about Mariah's live performances of the past few years, but I will get into that a little bit later. A bit over a month later, she released an EP with 4 really good Type Dangerous remixes, and the following week she started teasing both the album and the second single.
Come on, Mariah, what's going on?
I have enough material to put out a new album.
There's new music on the horizon.
I have about 10 songs. There's a lot of material.
We got some Mariah ballads.
See, this is when I get myself in trouble.
New music, mic drop moment.
New music. It's coming soon.
And I hope you like it. I'm giving eyes, I'm giving me. I hope that you don't mind. I'ma keep it sweet, sugar, sugar, sweet.
Sugar Sweet was a breezy summer bop together with Kehlani and Shensia. Then, on July 21st, the album was finally announced. Here for It All was scheduled for release on September 26. The era continued with interviews and a lyric video for the single, but no big push was given beyond a few videos on social media. She did include it as part of her sets at two major events in the UK where she spent a few weeks. The first one was Brighton Pride, and the second one was a couple of weeks later at Sandringham State. In between, we got a lot of interviews in the UK, which gave us this funny meme moment.
Would you fancy going to space? You know, like Katy Perry did?
Did she go to space?
Not for long. I think it was...
Where'd she go?
Katy Perry went into orbit and back. I think it was...
So she's like floating in the...
Yeah.
And this is true?
I've not made this up. This is true.
Wow.
I know.
All right, Katie.
I think she was there for... It was something mad like 20 minutes. But she was proper in space.
I'm not mad at her. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, she hasn't stopped talking about it since, but it happened. I wouldn't either, would you?
No.
Would you fancy maybe being an astronaut one day and doing a Katy? Obviously, like you'd be there for longer than 20 minutes, but would you do it?
I think I've done enough.
An event was hosted in London where she sat down for an interview and shared a snippet of the title track. Overall, the summer felt really long, given that she released Sugar Sweet and then left for the UK. No other song was released until the day of the album release. I think Sugar Sweet could have done better if all the budget hadn't gone to the Type Dangerous video. During September, she did extensive promo, with one particular promo stop leaving everyone confused. I'm talking about her appearance on a Twitch streamer livestream, Kai Senat, who is very popular amongst kids. Maybe Rocky had something to do with this, I don't know, but her visit caused a little bit of controversy, as one of the people present in the room was bad-mouthing Mariah later on, but I won't get into that because we don't have time for the rigmarole. What this showed is, once again, Gamma was testing out different ways of bringing Mariah to new audiences, and regardless of the success of these appearances, one cannot blame them for trying. A few days later, a big moment for Mariah came in the form of the MTV Video Vanguard Award. She received the award at the hands of Ariana Grande and performed a medley of her hits that also included Sugar Sweet. She also won her first competitive award for the Type Dangerous video. It was about time. I think her videography is widely underrated. She continued to promote the album with interviews on different TV shows, podcasts, and a set at the iHeart Music Festival. On release week, one of my favorite moments from the era, Flowers, an Apple Music conversation together with SZA.
You know, I don't want to get emotional.
Literally, we love you, and a mother is everyone's most precious gift. Just as you are the most precious gift to your children, just as you've been a mother to all of us.
I hope I'm their precious gift.
Oh, you are. You are. And all of your feelings are completely valid. May I hug you?
During the talk, they teased potentially collaborating on some new music, but nothing has materialized at the time of this video. One of the most commented things during this promo era, sometimes even more than the album itself, is the grunge album under the name Chic. The teasing still continues to this day. The focus track on release day was Play This Song, a duet with Anderson .Paak. This collaboration had many people excited, and they had built up some hype around this duet, as there were rumors that they were dating. This was never confirmed though, but it helped generate interest. The album received positive reviews overall, although I did notice a bit less enthusiasm than with Caution, which was a massive success among music critics and fans. The era kind of fizzled after this, although she performed tracks from the album during her Christmas residency, and a few songs were sent to different radio formats in the US. Nothing is Impossible was released to adult pop and adult contemporary formats and has so far reached the top 25 on adult pop songs, while Jesus I Do with the Clark Sisters did its thing in gospel formats, becoming a top 5 on the Hot Gospel Songs chart. But the most successful radio hit of the three was definitely In Your Feelings, which stayed at number 1 for 6 weeks on the adult R&B airplay chart. Type Dangerous had previously been number 1 for 3 weeks on the same chart. Outside the US, however, very little push was given to the album or any of the singles, apart from her appearances in the UK that came way before the album's release. The last promotional moment of the era was during the opening of the Winter Olympics in Milan in February 2026, where she sang the Italian classic Volare and a bit of Nothing is Impossible at the end. During album release, Mariah teased a deluxe edition with potentially new songs, but it's been very quiet since. And in a recent interview, she has discussed recording new music without specifying if it's for a new album or for a deluxe edition. So, is the Here For It All era over, or does Mariah still have some surprises up her sleeve? Only time will tell. To sum up the era, I think some things went well and some others could be improved. One of the things that worked well was the single choices. I think Type Dangerous and Sugar Sweet were good singles. Perhaps the hook for both of these tracks could have been worked on a little bit more, but overall I think they were great at showing two different sides of Mariah that she's already known for. I'm not sure about Play This Song as a single though. It's one of the best produced songs on the album, but it kind of goes nowhere. It's a good album track, but not single material in my opinion. I think they really wanted to capitalize on the Anderson .Paak collaboration and the rumors around their relationship, but In Your Feelings was right there. One thing that didn't go so well, the focus was only on the US. She did some promo in the UK 2 months before the album and then nothing, let alone other parts of the world. She promoted the album by touring in parts of Asia and Brazil, but nothing anywhere else. I think her cover of My Love, for example, could have been pushed in Europe. Another thing that didn't work was the distribution of the physical editions. Stock for them was limited during release week, and this is not good for an artist whose chances of charting high are fully dependent on those physical sales. There were 4 vinyl variants and 3 of them were US exclusives. Usher, who is also with Gamma and released his album a year earlier, had a much better physical campaign, so we know it's doable. I hope next time they do it better. One thing that did go well was her being booked for great gigs during promo. From the BET Awards to the UK's Capital Ball Festival, the VMAs, iHeartRadio, a performance on Jimmy Fallon, the Olympics, a lot of high-profile promo spots in broadcast media. I want to share some reflections on the era and the album. The first one is that I think that Here For It All is a transitional album. This was her first studio album in 8 years. That's not to say she hasn't given us a lot of music in the form of remixes, one-off singles, or unreleased tracks from the vault, but 8 years is a very long time in the music industry, and to some people, Mariah Carey is just the Christmas lady. R&B and pop fans of a certain age will always be here for new Mariah, but the general public is not necessarily running to stream or buy a new album from a 90s legend. I think this album was needed to start shifting the narrative away from the Queen of Christmas. She can still be that, but this is a way of saying, hey, this is Mariah Carey and I can still put out great original music. And in that sense, her partnership with Gamma also comes into play. They tried different ways of bringing Mariah to a different demographic. It didn't quite work this time around, but I think the album did as well as it could for someone who had not had a new album cycle in so long. After all, her songs constantly go viral on TikTok, so there is a chance that the younger generations could embrace a new Mariah single. I'm not thinking about a full album, but if she had the right song that is beloved by everyone, she could get another hit. This brings me to my second reflection, which has to do with Mariah's chart success. As a fan who knows what a musical genius she is, sometimes it frustrates me that Mariah and chart success have to always go hand in hand. This is not just pressure from the outside, but something she clearly still wants. That press release talking about the 20th and 21st number ones, I don't know, maybe it could have been said less directly, as you're kind of setting her up. I'm thankful for her chart success, as she's been able to give us amazing things throughout her career. But with such an ageist industry, it doesn't just depend on putting good music out. And it is sad that this is still a big goal. Some work has been done to highlight her brilliance as one of music's greatest with the Songwriters Hall of Fame or the recent Grammy Music Cares tribute. But I feel like Mariah and her team are still trying to figure out how to integrate all the different parts of her brand. She's the Queen of Christmas, she's the Queen of the Billboard charts, and she's a heavily influential artist who writes and produces her own music. It's a unique situation to be in, so I understand how the branding of all those things into one artist can be a challenge. I haven't mentioned this earlier in the video and I don't want to get too much into it, but her personal struggles cannot be ignored. She broke up with Brian Tanaka sometime in 2023. No details have surfaced about it, but this was Mariah's longest relationship. And she also suffered a massive loss in 2024 and has not stopped working before or after, especially touring. A lot of us have noticed a change in Mariah. She seems a bit less interested in interviews and her energy levels are not what they used to be. I think it's fine to notice it, but I don't think people should be saying some of the things I've read online, from discussing medications to other health issues, including her mental health. I think we need to give her some grace. This woman has been working non-stop since she was very young. Perhaps work is her way of coping with whatever is going on in her life, so I think we should be a bit more understanding as people, especially in a time when we all people talk about being more considerate about mental health, there's also been a lot of talk about her performances since around 2023. I get that it can be disappointing, and in some cases I think it's fair criticism. She has clearly stated she's tired of touring, so I really hope her team listens to her and they don't book her for as many gigs as the last few years. Funny enough, these past few years we've gotten the most amount of professionally recorded concerts and sets in her career. It's just a bit sad that she was not into it, because this just fits into the narrative of her not being a good performer, to the point where the general public is now also noticing. The bar for Mariah is impossibly high, and it must feel like a difficult situation to deal with. And of course, another big topic of discussion is how her voice sounds different. I'm a bit tired of hearing about this, but I think it's fair to address it, particularly during this album cycle. So yeah, her voice has changed. She's almost 60 minutes old. People whining about her not sounding like the emancipation of Mimi, I'm not sure what you're doing here. If this album's not for you, go listen to her earlier records, but stop moaning about it. The Mimi Mariah is never coming back, that voice is not coming back. She has a new element to her voice that I think we can appreciate without constantly bringing the past into it. I think that the lyrical content of songs like Nothing Is Impossible or Here For It All can only hit so hard with her current voice. Those lyrics are deep and suggest a life that has been lived and survived. So hearing a voice that is no longer in her prime, although still powerful, makes them a lot more emotional and earnest. Imagine Mariah singing Nothing Is Impossible in 1995. Would it be an earth-shattering vocal? Yes. Would it be a bit schmaltzy? Potentially yes. I'll take the Mariah in 2025 singing this song any day. These are songs that only current Mariah could write and sing. She's earned it. And I commend her for showing us her voice as it is today. I think there was minimal filtering of the vocals, and I find that very brave for an artist known for her incredible vocal range. I'm seeing a tendency online of criticizing everything she does, and sadly some lambs have started joining the party. Mariah's biggest crime seems to be that she has gotten older, and she's in an industry that penalizes any woman who dares to do so. I think constructive criticism is welcome, but I'm also of the philosophy that if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Finally, to bring it back to Here For It All, in a way, I think this album was a vessel for Mariah to release some of her most meaningful songs of the past few years. Most of the album promo was centered around the title track, which she speaks highly of, and I think it's one of the best ballads in her career. Nothing Is Impossible is also an important song for her, as is Jesus I Do. I think she wanted to give these songs a home in a studio album, so she gathered these tracks and created some new ones to give us an album with a bit of everything. With the retro soul sound of the Anderson .Paak tracks, the atmospheric R&B tracks, one cover, one sample-heavy hip-hop R&B bop, and a breezy little bop. It follows the Mariah template that she created with Daydream and has been stepping in and out of ever since. I personally love the album. It's been giving me everything I needed, and I'm ready for more whenever she's ready. I'm gonna share my favorite tracks, but first, here are all the physical editions of the album. So I have here all the editions. I actually went all out with this album. I don't usually collect all CD editions, but yeah, I went for it. So this is the standard edition. It comes in a gatefold. I already mentioned this when I did the unboxing, but I'm not a fan of any of this. I don't like the design, I don't like the photo. The lettering is just too big, but I appreciate that they actually did a gatefold, because sometimes with single LPs they don't do that. So we have this insert. I love this photo shoot and this photo in particular. The design here is really cute though, so I'm not criticizing all of it. And this pink transparent vinyl, really cute. The sound is actually really good throughout all pressings. I think they may have been done all at the same pressing plant, even though there is one of them that is a bit worse than the rest. Then here we have the store exclusive, D2C exclusive, with a different cover, but the back cover is the same. Same gatefold as well. Also the same insert. And this is also exactly the same design. And we have this, I think they called it black ice pressing. It's basically a transparent black. but it looks a little bit brown as well. The gatefold is actually pretty thick carton paper, so it's a bit difficult to slide it in. Then here is the Amazon exclusive, also with alternate artwork, same gatefold, but the back cover is different. I should also mention that none of these editions on vinyl include Sugar Sweet featuring Kehlani and Shenseea. They include a solo version. I'm not sure what they call this because it's not fully transparent. There's like a slight yellow tint. It's actually quite pretty. This is the Target edition, which is exactly the same as the standard edition, with the only difference in the pressing, in the color pressing. Look at it, this is the prettiest of them all. It's glittery, it's like a glitter tan color. Sadly, is the one that sounds the worst out of all of them. Not considerably worse, but sometimes with glitter vinyl, it's difficult to keep an extremely clean sound. And then I have the Japanese edition. So originally I thought this edition might include the version of Sugar Sweet with Shenseea and Kehlani. So I ordered it hoping for that because it was a little bit confusing in the listings that I saw online. In the end, it just turned out to be the standard with the obi strip and the usual Japanese booklet, which in this occasion it's just CD size. Usually Japanese editions include the booklet in big size, but yeah, I decided to keep it because it was gonna be a bit of a problem to return it. So I just thought, well, I may as well keep it, but I haven't opened it yet. This is exactly as the one that comes with the CD, so I will show you in a second. But first, the cassettes. This is the standard cassette, even though I think it was exclusive to her store. And this is the exclusive from the store, which I haven't opened yet, so I'm gonna open it now. So this cassette is black, this one is transparent. I'm guessing the design inside is the same. Yeah, it's exactly the same apart from the cover photo. Still feels a bit strange to handle cassettes as that's what I used to play before even CDs came around. And now they're just collector items that have to be kept very mint. And then we have all the different CDs. I'm going to start with the standard edition. This butterfly is really cute. I'm loving that the CD includes lyrics, which is not always the case. Then the Amazon exclusive is also the same CD design, just the difference with the cover, even though here the back cover is the same. And here there's also then the CD that was signed. I'm still suspicious about this signature, but I will decide that I believe it was actually her who signed it and not some assistant or something. The heart is cute. Same booklet as the Amazon edition. And finally, the Japanese edition, which actually comes with bonus tracks. So it has this little obi, And it has the DJ Snake remix of Type Dangerous, which is an amazing remix, and Sugar Sweet with Kelani and Shensia. The booklet feels like it's thicker paper. And I wonder, yeah, so we have the credits for the bonus tracks included. And this is the usual Japanese sort of booklet. In this case, it's more like a little fold out that includes the lyrics in Japanese and also the credits. So overall, really cute editions. I'm a bit sad that we didn't get Sugar Sweet or other bonus tracks on vinyl, but well, it's not too late. Before I finish, I want to share my favorite tracks from the album 6 months on. A lot of them are actually still the same as the first time I listened to the album, but there are some different ones. So at number 5, I would add I Won't Allow It. I have been really enjoying this song, and it's been such a grower because it wasn't one of my favorites when I first listened to the album. At number 4, I would place Confetti and Champagne. This was an early favorite and I'm still loving it. Number 3 would be My Love. This has also been such a grower. I think it's one of the most beautiful vocals in the album. Gorgeous cover. We know Mariah is amazing at doing covers, and she definitely did this song justice. Number 2 would be the title track, Here For It All. One of her best ballads, very important ballad for Mariah, and yeah, I love it as well. And my number 1 is my number 1 still to this day. From the first time I listened to the album, this song really captured my attention, and that is Nothing Is Impossible. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to share your reflections in the comments. What did you like or didn't like about the Here For It All era? Subscribe if you haven't yet, and check out my other videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I think I've done enough.